the Sterling Heights Public Library. My name is Brent, and today we are going to be doing apple crisp. It's come to my attention that we've been neglecting dessert, and it's apple season, so let's talk about it. Come on down, I'll go over the ingredients, and we'll touch on the equipment as well. So today we are going to be needing a little all-purpose flour, some sugar. We've got apples here. These are Northern Spies. These are one of my favorite varieties for baking. You have to go to an orchard usually to find these. These are not something you're going to find in a grocery store, but there's a lot of other things that'll work. These just happen to be one that I really like. I've got some cinnamon, got some chopped nuts, some butter, some salt, and as far as our equipment today, we're going to need some assorted measuring spoons, a couple of measuring cups. I do happen to have a Pyrex one here as well. We'll touch on why I've got that. I've got a spatula or wooden spoon, paring knife, peeler. I've got a baking dish here. Glass or ceramic is preferred. It does not have to be round. It just needs to be big enough to handle all of our ingredients today. And some sort of a good sized bowl for tossing some of our ingredients together. Okay, so the first thing we're going to do here is we're going to get these apples prepared. So I'm going to show you how to peel them, core them, and cut them without having to use any special tools. So easiest way to peel an apple is to go ahead and get yourself a peeler and go ahead and start at either the top or the bottom, and you can go around in a spiral like this. Doesn't have to be all in one piece. You'll see people that'll do that sometimes. And just keep working your way around. And if you miss a little teeny piece here and there, it's not going to be a big problem. You don't want to leave big chunks of skin, but little ones doesn't hurt anything. Okay, so once you've got the apple peeled, get yourself a knife and come down through it and cut it into halves and then into quarters. Okay, now to get the core out of this thing, you can come in here and just kind of knock off the edges and then make kind of a V-shaped cut down into it like this. And your core should pop right out. Get all your seeds out of there. These little things that are around the seeds you don't really want. They've got kind of an unpleasant texture. And then once you've got that, it's pretty easy to just go ahead and slice them either crosswise or lengthwise. I just hold the knife like this, use your thumb as a guide, and just bring it in towards you. You got good control this way. If you're more comfortable, you certainly can cut the apple on a board. Or like this. And you can use a bigger knife for the slicing part if you want to, but since you've already got the paring knife out for coring the apple, this works out pretty well. Okay, so we've peeled and cored and sliced 6 large apples. So we've got about 8 cups apples total here. We're going to go ahead and put those in the big bowl, and we're going to mix up our filling. So for that, we are going to need a 1/4 cup of all-purpose flour. So you want that to be a pretty level scoop. Baking, that kind of matters. Go ahead and sprinkle that over the apples. We're going to need 1/2 cup of sugar. Also, you want to keep that pretty level. Go ahead and sprinkle that over the apples. We're going to need 1/4 teaspoon of salt. Give that a A little bit of a sprinkle. You don't want it all in one place. And about a half a teaspoon of cinnamon. Cinnamon is one of those things you can kind of do to taste a little bit. You can go lighter if you like. You can go a little heavier. I find that for this recipe, this works pretty well. Now you're going to find that in the recipe that I've included, it does mention lemon juice. This is optional. That works out really well if you've got apples that are on the sweet side. You want some kind of a counterbalance to the sweet on the apples. Now I mentioned I'm using Northern Spies here. These are kind of a tart apple, so I'm not going to worry too much about the lemon juice on this here. But if you're using a sweeter apple or you like a little bit more balance to the acid, go ahead and add the lemon juice. And if you're looking for a little bit of a change up, one thing I did a couple of years ago, I actually didn't have any lemon, so I used a lime. Boy, was that interesting. But it may not be the way you want to go every time. So once you've got these in here, go ahead and just kind of give them a stir coat. The sugar and the cinnamon is going to be kind of your seasoning in this, and then the flour is going to help thicken your filling when it cooks. So that's why we're doing that. Now, if you leave this sit a little while, you're going to find that the sugar is going to start drawing moisture out of the apples. Okay, so we've mixed up our apples and we've got them all seasoned and everything, and we are going to transfer them into actually a 9x13 dish. We tried the other dish, it was a little bit too small, so you want to make sure you got room not only for your fruit, but also for your topping. A little bit of a spray with a little nonstick spray is not a bad idea with something like this here. It's not absolutely necessary, but it's going to help with cleanup later on. So, okay, there we go. So there's our fruit. We're going to lay that down into a nice even layer. And then we're going to mix up our topping and top it off. I should mention at this point that I did preset the oven. That's preheating at 350 right now. So we'll come back to that here in a moment. Okay, so now we're going to go ahead and mix up the topping here. So I've got half a cup of chopped pecans. Go straight into the bowl. Remember that Pyrex cup? I took the 6 tablespoons of butter here, which is about 3/4 of a stick, and microwaved it for about 30 seconds in a glass mixing or measuring cup. So that's a great way to melt butter without making a big mess. Put that right in there with those nuts. We're going to add half a cup of sugar. I'm going to give this a quick stir before I add the flour. I just want to get the nuts nicely coated with the butter and the sugar. There's actually still a little bit of butter in that cup too. Okay, so now we're going to go ahead and add 1 full cup of all-purpose flour. Another half teaspoon of cinnamon. And another 1/4 teaspoon of salt. You might not think about salt in sweet goods, but it actually really helps with your flavor on stuff. Kind of gives everything a little bit of a boost. If you don't have a little salt in there, it's likely to get a little on the flat side. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and tilt this so you can see it as I stir this together. You're going to see that this is going to kind of come together into a sort of a crumbly mixture, which we are then going to lay on top of our apples. before we put it in the oven. Okay. There we go. See how that works? So, go ahead and bring this back over here. And we're going to lay this over the top nice and evenly. This is not a super heavy layer of topping on this. I personally like it a little bit sparse, but it's very easy to make a bigger batch of this crumble and put it over the top. In a little bit smaller dish, you wouldn't even notice. So this here is going to go in the oven at 350 for about 45 to 50 minutes. We're going to check back on it. It should be getting golden and brown on top, and the fruit should be getting bubbly. Okay, so we just pulled it out of the oven. This topping doesn't look quite as sparse now as it did when we put it in, so that's a good thing. It's a little bubbly around the edges. We got a little bit of browning on here, and we got a nice golden color on the top. You got to let this sit for at least 20 minutes before you serve it. You don't want to scorch yourself too badly. Serving it warm is good. We'll come back when it's cool and dish it up and go from there. All right, so to dish this up, we're going to find ourselves a little dish. Go ahead and spoon some of this out. Make sure you get some fruit and some crisp. Probably enough for about, I'd say probably about 8 servings. And then ice cream is optional, but boy is it good that way. Scoop of that right on top. Good stuff. Enjoy.